up, guys? Welcome back to Michigan Muckraker. My name's Michelle. Today is the 17th of April, 2023, and I wanted to thank you for joining me on today's Gotion News Roundup. Before I get started, I have three things that I want to share really quick. First, if you have any interesting articles that you want to share about Gotion to add to the Monday morning news roundup, you are free to share it with me on my email. Just put Gotion as the subject line, and I will try to incorporate it into the Monday morning roundup, which will be done for the foreseeable future. I would like to stay on this topic for as long as it's going on. I'm sorry, I will get into a rhythm, hopefully. As long as this project is in the works, I will be covering it every Monday morning. So if you have anything you'd like to share for your neighbors, then send it. You could also use Facebook if you want, but email is preferable. The second thing that I wanted to share is that, unfortunately, Jim Chapman was right, and there is something terrible coming to downtown Newaygo. So I have been doing research on that, and I will be doing a video tomorrow. So check that out if you're interested. And lastly, I wanted to say that it is 32 degrees and snowing today, and yesterday it was in the 80s and sunny. And if you think that that's natural, it's not. If you go to geoengineeringwatch.org, have a look around, you will see that governments around the world, since the 60s, have been manipulating weather. And I'm not going to get into it here, but it's very interesting. Even if you just type in geoengineering into Google, the number one article was Harvard, and the number two was Oxford, at least for me. So it is not a conspiracy. It's a fact. They do manipulate or attempt to manipulate the weather, and that's what we're feeling. So now that I have that out of the way, I'm going to jump in to something that is very concerning to me. I wanted to show you. So you type in Gotion, Michigan, and you go to the news tab in Google, and I want to show you this because it bothers me. So Michigan grants $410 million to electric vehicle projects, delays Gotion funding. Down here it says the Senate has yet to sign off, which has been on the grant for Gotion, which has been shrouded in controversy for its ties to China. Down here, Gotion funding on hold in Michigan amid uproar over China ties. This is from South China Morning Post. Opponents of Michigan EV battery plant hone in on Chinese firm CCP cell. Gotion VP reacts to Tudor Dixon's comments regarding battery plant Chinese influence. I'm sure you're seeing the same pattern. Amid GOP backlash, exec rebukes conspiracy of communist plot in Big Rapids. And you come down here, Chinese-owned factory. Do you see anything about environmental concerns in any of these headlines? It's impossible to find. And it bothers me because while the geopolitical concerns are valid, China is worrisome, the environmental concerns, what could happen if these materials were to get into our river, that is what half the story, and if not more than half the story, and that nobody's talking about it. So you have to ask yourself, why? Is it because they don't want you to look into the green energy that's not clean energy? They don't want to put a target on that? I'm just speculating, but it really, again, it bothers me. Let me know if it bothers you in the comments down below. We're going to get into the good news, though. Sorry, let's pause that. For the people that are fighting against Gotion, we have had a victory. It's not over yet. It's not over till it's over, but the plant funding has been paused, and the Senator Anthony has been investigating, which is amazing. Thank you, Senator Anthony. Investigating both the environmental concerns and the geopolitical concerns. Again, thank you. But we need to remain vigilant, and we need to continue to spread awareness, to talk to your neighbors, to let everybody know what's going on and why we don't want this, and we need to inform everybody it's not just the Chinese ties. The environmental concerns are equally important. And it seems like the media is ignoring that part. So keep up the good work. The locals are the ones that truly made a difference, and I'm not trying to belittle what the local politicians have been doing, the Republicans in particular. Thank you for helping. But really, what made the difference is the strength in numbers. So thank you to all of my neighbors. I appreciate you, and keep up the emails to your politicians, to the representatives around Michigan, everybody that's involved in the appropriations and MEDC. Just keep emailing people and calling, and don't give up. Don't rest on your laurels now. It ain't over. So it's just paused, but a victory is a victory. And so thank you, and excellent job for everybody who has been working so hard. Now, getting into this story, lawmakers leave Gotion out of EV plant funding for now. Yes, Ironwood's cloud seeding, thank you. It's exactly what's going on. And that's why, again, it's 32 degrees. I hope my peach tree is okay. It's the only, my plum tree already is screwed from the caterpillars a couple years ago. But anyway, the Michigan Senate Appropriations Committee signed off on over $4 million in incentives for 2 electric vehicle battery plants, a Ford Motor Company plant in Marshall and our next energy plant in Van Buren. However, they did not consider the third request in the legislative transfer package to give funding to a more controversial battery plant near Big Rapids. Now, real quick, I'm very sorry to the people in Marshall. I know that you guys are fighting against the Ford Motor plant, and unfortunately that funding did go through. Again, I'm sorry. Do not give up though. The more people that know, the higher chances that it can be stopped. So keep up the good fight, okay? The potential plant in Green Township has come under fire as the company trying to build it, Gotion, has been targeted for potential links to the Chinese Communist Party. While Gotion's parent company, Gotion High Tech, does say its articles of association that a committee of the Chinese Communist Party will exist in the company to abide by party rules, Gotion's vice president of the North American operations, Chuck Thelen, has said Gotion is a subsidiary and that the Communist Party does not influence that company. Again, I believe you. You work for that company, and so why would you lie? I can't stand WZZM13. I'm just going to let you know the pop-ups and the automatic playing of the videos bothers me. But they are local news, and they did cover the story, so. In the lead up to the panel discussion about the plant, some remain unconvinced the Chinese Communist Party and moving the CCP into this district is against liberty and freedom and the American way, State Rep Angela Regis said. My constituents are not for this. They're not for the communist government, the communist Chinese government in our state. There's no place in the United States of America for the CCP. That's what this is all about. See, again, that's only half the story. So the other half needs to be talked about. People are worried. This is my biggest worry about just focusing on China. You could say that it is a more bipartisan argument, right? The Republicans seem to be more, and again, I'm a political atheist, but the Republicans seem to be more worried about China than the Democrats. But when it comes to the environment, when it comes to where we live, when it comes to our water sources, that should affect everybody, Democrats or Republicans. So to me, the environmental issue is for the people. It's not just about, although everybody should be a little worried about China, obviously, with their Silk Road. So again, the geopolitical concerns. See, look what I'm talking about. Stop that. The geopolitical concerns are valid, but they should not be the main focus. The Wall Street Journal, which is a rag. Sorry, I think it's a rag. They have covered it. They're only going to cover the Chinese part. But I thought it would be interesting to go over it since such a big magazine is covering our little town. The green energy factory facing a storm of China backlash. Clean energy projects involving Chinese companies are grappling with fallout from troubled U.S.-Sino relations. Real quick, look at this article out of Columbia Climate School. Stop calling green energy clean. I will be doing a video with a couple of articles, this one included, but it's not green energy. Or sorry, green energy is not clean energy. So stop it, Wall Street Journal. Do your due diligence, okay? Chinese clean energy manufacturers, eat wrong, green energy, were enticed by huge green subsidies to expand in the US. Now they are confronting a storm of anti-China sentiment. Projects across the country involving Chinese companies face resistance, including a $3.5 billion battery factory Ford Motor Company is setting up with the help of Chinese battery company Contemporary Amperex Technology, or CATL. Oh, see, I know this simply because in my research for Gotion, this is the #1 Chinese battery company in China. So that is something that I didn't know about the Marshall plant, but I should have known. And again, I'm sorry to those people down there. They have a bigger fight even than we do, and I hope that they can get the help they need. Then there is China-based Gotion High-Tech, which in October unveiled plans for a $2.4 billion battery. Yes, okay. In recent weeks, Gotion execs and local officials say they have denied accusations that the company would spread communism, bringing thousands of Chinese workers and hide ballistic missiles in its factory. What? Who is talking about hiding ballistic missiles? See, this is the Wall Street Journal doing some bullshit. Gotion has significant investment from Volkswagen AG's China unit and is listed in Switzerland as well as Shenzhen, China. Also has argued it should be considered a multinational company rather than Chinese. Yeah, except for if you know how the CCP works, if you know how communism works, then it's different than a country that's like Switzerland, okay? The government owns everything in the end, in case you didn't know. Such arguments only deepen the criticism of Julie Reynolds, a member of a conservative women's caucus in nearby Muskegon County. Miss Reynolds drove to the Big Rapids area to join a couple hundred protesters waving American flags and brandishing no signs at an April 5th rally. I'm not sure why in the world we would be supporting a company that has a CCP interest when they're a threat to the entire world, says Miss Reynolds, noting that Gotion is slated to get millions of dollars in state and local incentives. Chinese companies currently dominate green energy manufacturing, making them natural choices to set up cutting-edge plants in America. Those who advocate a tough on China policy counter that encouraging and helping to fund Chinese investment in the U.S. would only cement the company's lock on industries such as solar. Thus, they have raised concerns about possible connections between the companies and Beijing. There's no denying the geopolitical situation right now is very explosive, said Chuck Thelen, Vice President of North America Gotion Operations. We've become a lightning rod, said Jim Chapman, supervisor for Green Township, where the Gotion plant will be located, and whose board is still supporting the plant. Yes. Yep, still supporting it 100%. Washington and Beijing are locked in a great power competition that is sending bilateral relations. Again, though, you see? Again, Chinese clean energy manufacturers. Wall Street Journal, you're a liar. Do research. This is about the lithium mining. This is Nevada. They're talking about destroying this to mine lithium. And this is happening in Brazil, Argentina, and poorer countries. So they're lying. Those investments have been accelerated by President Biden's aggressive targets for renewable energy and electric vehicles, as well as billions of dollars in federal tax credits to support the manufacture of everything from solar panels to batteries. Yep, and again, this push for green energy is just about centralized power, guys, because electricity can be turned off and on remotely if everybody's on electricity. Electric cars, all that. That's why they don't talk about it. That's why they're not saying that we're worried and the locals are worried about the environment. They're just focusing on China. China hawks say Chinese companies shouldn't get support from U.S. federal or local subsidies meant to encourage domestic investment. We shouldn't do that anyway. Corporate welfare is bull. Chinese companies must make sure that what they're doing is supportive and Chinese companies must make sure that what they're doing is supportive of what the Communist Party wants to do, especially in critical industries, said Pete Hoekstra, a former Republican member of Congress from Michigan and ambassador to the Netherlands, who joined the anti-Gotion rally and is also opposed to the Ford project. CATL is the world's biggest battery producer and has expertise in one key technology that no American company can deliver at scale, said a Ford spokeswoman, explaining why the automaker chose to work with the Chinese manufacturer for the proposed battery factory. Yeah, again, Michiganders never said, hey, we want to be the new Silicon Valley. We never voted on that, did we? The Michigan Economic Development Corporation is just doing whatever it wants. Same thing with the Nuevo project that's going to be on the Muskegon River. Thanks, Michigan Economic Development Corporation. We don't want it. I'm telling you that right now. Senator Marco Rubio sponsored a bill last month dubbed the Restricting Electric Vehicle Outlays from Kleptomaniac Enemies Act, aimed at preventing projects such as Ford's from benefiting from federal tax credits, even if they don't have direct Chinese investment. What a bill. What a bill. If Chinese companies like CATL are able to exploit both Chinese and United States incentives for battery and EV tech through clever corporate arrangements, and there is no use in investing federal funds toward industrial development in the first place, he wrote. So, last paragraph, because most people read the title and the last paragraph. Other clean energy projects involving Chinese manufacturers have played down China connections. When South Carolina and Honan Solar announced the company was setting up a solar panel factory in the state in March, they referred to Honan as a California company, though Honan parent is based near Shanghai. So, main focus is China. Again, same thing with MLive. I'm not going to read the entire thing. I think there's a couple things in here to highlight. Susie, companies from other countries should not get tax breaks. You are absolutely right. And we should not sell our land to any country. It doesn't matter if it's China or Germany, Switzerland. This is our country. This is our land. And there are tons of natural resources all over Michigan that are extremely important for the United States of America. So how about we just keep the land for ourselves? And Susie also says, should pay twice as much as Michigan citizens. Again, they shouldn't even be able to buy here. If you want to lease, maybe. But, there are more important things in the world than money. And health is the most important thing in the world. Because if you're not healthy, you can't accomplish anything. So, getting into this MLive, again, MLive is also a rag, but there's always truth in the trash, and so we must try to find it. Small rural community cut by US 131 and the Muskegon River has become a geopolitical battleground. Not going to say anything about the environment in this whole article. Intense scrutiny swirling around Gotion's Chinese parent company has led to packed public meetings, scrutiny from lawmakers, and a reported pause on the Big Rapids plant. Criticism grew louder in recent months as strained relations between U.S. and China frayed over export control, spy balloons, and TikTok. The latest flashpoint happened when Green Township moved an April 5th panel discussion to an online-only meeting out of security concerns. This is merely being hosted by Green Township with the intent of trying to get actual information out instead of fear-mongering propaganda. Spoiler alert, I watched the whole thing. I did it live, so if you want to check it out, you can. But they didn't really answer anything. In fact, I have more questions than I do answers after watching it. Especially, I really want to know about the security, because there's going to be armed guards securing Gotion if it goes in. That's interesting to me. Especially since, all the gun laws and everything that is going on right now. The project was put under a microscope after it received $715 million in state incentives, including a 30-year tax break valued at $540 million, and 2 grants totaling $175 million. Yeah, taxpayer dollars. Just spend it. Spend it on things we don't want, that we don't get a vote on. Both the Big Rapids Township Board and U.S. Rep. John Molinar asked for a federal review of Gotion's plans. Demoose. I have something more on Demoose here, thanks to the Midwesterner, who's been doing a fabulous job on keeping up with this story. I've dug into this, and I'm having a hard time finding any real new answers about Gotion. These people who have questions are not going to come, and all you're going to have are those that want to protest and make a scene, Chapman said. So there was no other way around this. Critics have taken aim at Gotion's alleged ties to the Chinese government. Conservative website called The Midwesterner reported that Gotion High-Tech's corporate bylaws require loyalty to the CCP. Yep, we need more manufacturing jobs. No, actually, a lot of jobs. There are a lot of jobs that need to be filled in Big Rapids right now as we speak, for one. For two, the jobs that this is supposed to offer are going to be hazardous. You have to wear a full suit. So, and you don't get paid any more than if you worked at somewhere like Hayworth. The jobs suck. They're probably not even going to be there, if we're going to be honest, with AI and automation happening at a rapid pace. And pretty much the only positive out of this whole project are these alleged jobs, and you can't even guarantee them. So I don't know why they continue with, well, I do, but with just talking about the jobs. Look at this. The county's poverty rate, 19%, hovers above the state's 13% census data. Mecosta County's household median income of $48,000 is 26% lower than Michigan's 63,000 median. Well, guess what? The jobs, the last I heard, $45,000 a year is the average salary for the Gotion plant. Again, for a hazardous, shitty job. So this isn't going to make this area more prosperous, but that's what this is insinuating. Especially, again, they have it in the last paragraph here, because a lot of people, they scan and they read the last paragraph, they read the first paragraph, but they don't read the middle. So they put this here to say, hey, the average hourly wage at the plant is going to be $29 a month, according to the MEDC, who, again, has a vested interest in getting this plant here. So can you trust them? Can you believe them? I want to say that the center square is the only one that's doing a good job, in my opinion, besides the Midwesterner, at trying to be more fair. Most places, again, they're just talking about China. They're talking about the jobs and saying how great it would be for us to have these jobs, even though in reality they suck. But thank you to Bruce Walker and to the people at Center Square. A lot of your articles have been really fair, so thank you. Green Township trustee Dale Jernstadt could recognize a tidy personal profit if Gotion moves forward with building a portion of its controversial battery plant on the land he owns. Mecosta County property records show Jernstadt took out $180,000 mortgage on the 72-acre parcel in 2012. In September of 2021, he sold the development rights for the property to the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development through December 2027. As a result, he must receive a waiver to sell the property for any use other than agricultural. Didn't know that. Thank you. Gotion announced plans to build its North American electric vehicle battery manufacturing plant operations on 408 acres in Green Township and another 115 acres in adjacent Big Rapids Township last October. Gotion scuttled plans for the Big Rapids Township site after township officials questioned how much influence the CCP exerted over the company. Partially true. That was definitely a concern, but really they started asking questions, and Gotion said, well, we'll just go to Green Charter Township instead. So they don't like it when you ask questions. And of course, now that I've been to a few meetings, you can see that that's true of the board as well. Nobody wants to be scrutinized. No one wants you to look at them. They just want to be able to do their dirty deeds without you questioning them. But luckily, the people around here are waking up, they're getting involved, and I'm really hoping Newaygo can do the same thing. I'm hoping everybody in Michigan, I hope that we can get what we want, which is to keep Michigan pure and beautiful and not have a bunch of chemicals all around us. Midwestern News first reported Jernstadt's potential conflict of interest. Gotion intends to build 6 buildings with a combined 3 million square feet to produce cathode and anode components, which, by the way, I heard that there's not going to be any cobalt, but I don't know how you can build cathodes or anode components without cobalt. I would like to know how that's happening. Obviously, I think that cobalt is, it's terrible what we're doing to the Republic of Congo to get the cobalt, so if there is none, then that's great, but I don't see how that can be. Everything I've read, cobalt is in anode and cathode components. Dubbed Project Elephant, the proposed plant would employ an estimated 2,350 workers. See, state and local incentives for Project Elephant are valued at estimated $1.1 billion, including a 30-year tax abatement. Let's see. Multiple grave national security threats and possible breaches of federal government are casting a dark cloud over the Project Gotion. Michigan senators and bipartisan basis should delay a vote until it is determined these grave threats can be resolved and vote no if, for whatever reason, a vote advances. If they do otherwise, they will be harming our national security and the security of the state of Michigan. Testifying before Michigan's Senate Appropriations Committee last month, VP of North America Chuck Thelen said Gotion is a publicly traded company through 2 major locations in Switzerland and China, so the ownership is public. Yep, again, thank you to the Democrats that voted to pause and to do more investigating. I really hope that, obviously, that the funding doesn't go through in the end. We just got to keep on them. A Midwesterner. Green Township trustee Dale Jernstadt after woman criticized board. What a bitch. And we're going to see him mouth it. This guy right here, oh man, his attitude, it's unbelievable, the resentment that he has for his neighbors, for the residents that are showing up and voicing their concerns. It's really such a terrible thing to see. Is if you're voted in, you're supposed to represent and try to do right by the people in your township. But alas, money, some people choose profit over people. Green Charter Township trustees endured a verbal pummeling Tuesday night from constituents irate over plans to bring a Chinese Communist Party-linked battery plant to rural community. Township Supervisor James Chapman and the trustees are working with Gotion High Tech, a China-based company, looking to open its first battery plant in the United States. The project was kicked off by Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Local opposition has been growing as Chapman and elected leaders become more steadfast in their determination to make the project become a reality. Numerous speakers berated the board, saying they are disappointed in their decisions and lack of listening to the community. Others criticized trustee Dale Jernstadt over his ownership of a 72-acre property that is slated to be purchased by Gotion for the project. You know, it's funny that it's slated to be purchased by Gotion because it's actually taxpayer dollars that are going to Jernstadt in order to give it to Gotion. Like, it completely bothers me. He was probably given 3-4 times more money than what he bought it for, and that's taxpayer dollars that are paying for that property and then giving it to Gotion, to a Chinese-based company that we don't even want. Like, we're paying for our own demise. And that's how it is with a lot of things, which makes you wonder, why do we keep paying them? Numerous speakers berated the board, saying they are disappointed. Sorry, I already read that. One woman singled out Jernstadt for criticism. Dale, you can snicker, you can throw the papers under your desk, but you know what? We all know what you are. Let's see.
I guarantee we will expose all of your corruption, every one of you.
All right,
you will be held accountable. Mark my words. Dale, you can snicker, you can throw the papers under your desk, but you know what? We all know what you are.
Yep, you see it right there? Bitch. Yep. That's real classy, isn't it? Real classy. Good job to the Midwesterner for catching that one. And then we have another.
And the thing is our greater Great Lakes don't just stay here. Y'all, do you not understand that? It runs all the way up and all the way down. And y'all should be ashamed. I'm absolutely disgusted with each and every one of you. And I shouldn't have voted for anybody, especially you.
Thank you for your time, ma'am.
Too bad.
Especially you.
Thank you for your time, ma'am.
Nope. Love that lip reading. But he just can't help himself, can he? And you know, deep down, I think he feels bad. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think that deep down he feels bad, or that he's just happy to get all that taxpayer dollar, all those taxpayer dollars? Alright, this one I found very interesting. Opponents of Michigan EV battery plant hone in on Chinese firm's Communist Party cell. This is from a Chinese website, I guess. This is from the Chinese perspective. The project by Gotion High-Tech's U.S. unit has support of Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, but faces local security concerns. CCP could weaponize this battery plant to harm our country and Michigan by direct extension, one state senator said. The project by Gotion earned unanimous approval by the Green Township supervisor Jim Chapman and his board, but even as the project's supporters, including Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, have promoted its promise of new jobs and new technology, especially attractive in a state reliant on the automotive industry, Gotion has become the target of political ire. Let's see, it's registered in California, but they say Republicans. See, that's what I'm saying right here. But Michigan Republicans say that business regulations guiding and parent companies' operations in China are proof of CCP infiltration. By focusing on China, you're making it more of a bipartisan issue. Republicans are worried about it, but Democrats aren't. But this should worry everybody. Republicans, Democrats, independents, libertarians, whatever. You should be worried about the materials that are coming into this state in mass. And they're coming in on trains and boats. On Wednesday, before a state Senate appropriations vote, Senator Lana Theus posted a screenshot of a clause from Gotion High-Tech's Articles of Association. Theus speculated that CCP could weaponize this battery plant, regrettably finds itself in armed conflict with China over Taiwan, right? U.S. Representative John Molar, a Republican who represents a district where the project would be built, wrote in the Detroit News on March 31st, Gotion High-Tech has numerous references in its corporate bylaws requiring loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party. As standard practice, all companies in China, both private and state-owned, are required to establish a party unit. Gotion has maintained silence on the issue during a panel discussion hosted by Green Township. They dismissed allegations of CCP influence, but did not directly address the question of internal party committee at Gotion High-Tech. Neither Gotion nor Township Supervisor Chapman responded to a request for comment. The Communist Party's role in steering the Chinese economy is a contentious issue in the U.S.-China relations. Beijing hails its system as socialism with Chinese characteristics. But the West contends that it clashes with the tenets of free market capitalism. Of course it does. Of course it does. It is state or stakeholder, the same thing, capitalism, where centralized power has ultimate say. Whereas free market capitalism, it's decentralized power. That's what makes it so wonderful. Supply and demand, naturally, that means every individual votes with your wallet, whether you want something or not, if you buy it, right? Basic law of economics. Party organizations are a troubling manifestation of efforts by the CCP to reassert control over the economy, according to Nicholas Borst, Director of China Research at Seafarer Capital Partners, an investment consultancy focused on emerging markets. Such cells, Borst said, have an unclear agenda and overlapping lines of authority with the company's managers. Other experts say these committees primarily transmit party documents and general thinking on broader economic issues to the party members within a company. According to Mary Gallagher, a University of Michigan professor and author of Authoritarian legality in China, law, workers, and the state, embedding party cells in private and state-owned companies is not new. If companies in China have party members, she said, it's customary to allow those party members to form a party branch. So, not denying it, this article, and these people not denying it. The expansion of party cells in private companies is relatively recent, she said, while state-owned enterprises have long held a very important role for the Communist Party. Despite changes in Chinese business law and regulations since 2013, Gallagher said that the role of party cells in private companies remains more formalistic and confined to activities like study sessions concerning new party doctrine, organizing vacation trips. Okay, let's just say that's true for now, but then Xi Jinping says, hey, all of these cells and all of these different companies, now we're going to do this instead. Now it's not just going to be arbitrary and it's just going to be about news or whatever. Now it's going to be about what Xi Jinping had planned the entire time, whatever that may be. I mean, if you look at the shares, every 3 months the shares for Gotion change. So everything is fluid. But saying that, oh, well, right now it's not something to worry about, so we shouldn't worry about it, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what you think. Regarding Gotion, she said a party committee in the Chinese parent company would have very limited influence, if any, on its U.S. subsidiary, which would have to be compliant with U.S. law and not with Chinese law. She noted that many American companies with large operations in China also have party committees in those subsidiaries. Paul Triolio, senior vice president for China at the Albright Stonebridge Group, reckoned that for Chinese companies like Gotion that include Western management officials, there is less likelihood that the party committee would be involved in business decisions, particularly for firms involved in global markets. Oh, well, less likely. That makes me feel better. Thank you. Without the involvement of leading Chinese battery makers such as Gotion and CATL, it would be difficult for U.S. car makers to have reliable EV battery supply chains. Fine. We don't need them. EV technology is not clean. So why switch over to it? The Biden administration has prioritized creating domestic supply chains for electric vehicles and lithium-ion batteries. If its project goes ahead, Gotion stands to receive more than $800 million in tax breaks. Michigan is also considering a major investment in batteries supply chain development between Ford Motor and CATL, a project that became available after Virginia rejected it over CATL's Chinese origins. Oh, so yeah, Virginia said no way, but of course Whitmer, yeah, come on down. We're partners with the World Economic Forum here in Michigan, and China, you're partners with the World Economic Forum. Let's be friends, man. Come on down. You can buy our land, and we'll help you buy it. We'll give you some money. Condemning a project simply because of its ties to China will see the state lose out on green technology investments and high-quality jobs. Define high-quality jobs. They aren't. They're not high-quality jobs, and they won't be there. The party cell is not the only concern Republicans have raised over Gotion's Michigan project. Tudor Dixon, the Republican gubernatorial candidate who lost to Whitmer in 2012, noted last week that the township is about 100 miles from Camp Grayling, the largest National Guard training facility in the U.S. In February, the Wall Street Journal reported Grayling was where the Michigan National Guard is training members of the Taiwan military. Why so close to Grayling, where we are training Taiwanese to fight against China in case China invades? She asked on her podcast, which I didn't even know she had a podcast. That might be interesting, I'm not sure. Jundai Liu, a fellow at the University of Michigan Weiser's Center for Emerging Democracies, called the labeling of Gotion as an arm of CCP hyperbolic, noting that China is a one-party state with 90 million party members. It is also unwise to say that we have no connection to the party. Of course it's unwise, because you do have a connection. So it's not just unwise, it would be a lie. Resistance to the project seems to be turning bipartisan. A vote on more than $800 million in incentives for Gotion was dropped from the Appropriations Committee agenda on Wednesday, reportedly after some Democrats refused to vote in Gotion's favor. Again, thank you to those Democrats. I appreciate it. and I know everyone that is fighting against Gotion appreciates it as well. Last week, Gotion submitted a voluntary self-declaration to the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. And you know what's funny is the Green Charter Township said it costs too much money for us to do that. So yeah, Gotion did it themselves. Conversation. Let's see really quick. Oh, wow. You have to register, sign in. Sorry, I'm not going to do that. News Nation Now. Also highlighting Chinese company, not really talking about the environmental concerns. I think that, let's see, this is...
To the communist. I'm News Nation's Brian Enton in western Michigan, a rural area that is now at the center of a geopolitical battle. There is a Chinese-owned company that plans to build a massive factory here. Residents are worried because they say this company in particular has an allegiance to the Communist Party.
This is an absolute disgrace, a mockery of the American dream.
Everybody's entitled to an opinion, and guess what China's is? They don't like us. They don't like us. That's their opinion. They're not our friends.
There is also a congressman extremely concerned because he says the proximity of this Chinese-owned company to a National Guard base where they are actually training troops from Taiwan right now here in Michigan. Much of this with the company, we are told, is being done in secret. We are investigating. We're on the ground here trying to figure out what's going on. We'll have our exclusive report coming up on Elizabeth Vargas Reports. That's 6 o'clock Eastern.
Again, though, how about concerns of the plant being on the Muskegon River? Where are you at, News Nation? Communist Party, China. By the way, Susie, someone has their eyes on a big position in D.C. If you're talking about Whitmer, I completely concur. I think she might go up in 2024 to try to be president, but I don't know for sure, obviously. She definitely has big friends, globalist friends. Davos. She just went there, and we spent $44,000 of our taxpayer dollars to send her and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation executives to Davos to have fun and schmooze with all those people that we didn't vote for. So, yeah, I think that if that's who you're talking about, you're right. Last but not least, the Green Charter Township to establish a planning commission. This is out of Big Rapids Pioneer. Anticipated growth requires updated master plan. And you can best believe that, sorry if you heard my mother-in-law, I'm gonna have to go check on her. You can best believe that they are creating this planning commission so they can, how best to say it? They obviously want more control. And the master plan is going to be an economic development plan, so we need to pay attention to that. When they do establish it, we need to look into it. The Green Charter Township Board of Trustees approved an ordinance to establish a Township Planning Commission during a special meeting, April 14th. Supervisor Jim Chapman proposed the ordinance, saying one of his first positions with the township was on the Planning Committee, which is limited in its authority to making recommendations to the County Zoning Board. That hasn't been in existence for many years, and the question came up as to whether we should establish our own planning commission, Chapman said. Chapman shared several examples. I'll be right there, Mama. River Haven is an example. When the County Planning Commission put out the map, it was zoned R1, but the way the lot sizes were set and the setbacks there was only about 10 foot of space to build on. We had to do a bunch of variances and spend a lot of money to get that changed. Additionally, he said, with the growth of solar farms and the potential growth of the area resulting from Gotion Inc. battery manufacturing facility, the decision that will need to be made would be better left to the township. I would think that those decisions as to whether to allow them, solar farms, or not, or to what conditions to allow them, should be made by township residents, not the county board that is made up of people from across the county, Chapman said. That's so ironic that for solar panels and for wind turbines that you're going to let us vote, but when it comes to this huge Gotion project, no vote. We do, of course, face potential growth in this new plant. If this new plant comes in, we are looking at growth on Northland Drive and growth on 19 Mile Road. Those decisions should be made by the township residents on the Planning Commission. Trustee James Peake told the board that Green Township is one of the 4 largest townships in the county, and only one of the 4 that does not currently have its own zoning ordinances. Mecosta, Morton, and Big Rapids all have their own zoning ordinances, Peake said. The reason they went to that is because they had issues that they thought should be addressed individually. Anyone interested in serving Township Planning Commission should contact the Township office at 231-796-6201. And I'm sorry, I have to go, obviously, so thank you very much for watching, and look out for my video tomorrow on the Nuevo project that's coming that is terrible for the area. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.